Sarah Martinez wiped the sweat from her palms as she approached the military training facility gates. At 19 years old, she had dreamed of serving her country since childhood, but the reality of stepping onto a base filled with elite Navy SEALs felt overwhelming. Her father had been a Marine, and her grandfather served in Vietnam, yet neither had prepared her for the intensity of what lay ahead. The morning sun cast long shadows across the training grounds as Sarah reported for her first day of advanced marksmanship training. She had scored exceptionally well in basic training, earning her a spot in this specialized program designed to identify the military's next generation of sharpshooters. However, she quickly realized she was the only woman among 37 male trainees, most of whom were seasoned SEALs with years of combat experience. As she walked toward the equipment building, conversation seemed to pause around her. She caught fragments of whispered comments questioning whether she belonged there. Some wondered aloud if standards had been lowered to accommodate female recruits. Others made jokes about her small frame, suggesting she would struggle to handle the recoil of high-powered rifles. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Rodriguez, the lead instructor, gathered the group near the firing range. His weathered face showed decades of military service, and his stern voice commanded immediate attention. He explained that this program would push everyone to their absolute limits, testing not just shooting accuracy, but mental toughness under extreme pressure. The first challenge involved assembling and disassembling various weapons while blindfolded. Sarah had practiced this countless times during basic training, but never under such scrutiny. As she worked methodically through each component, she could feel dozens of eyes watching her every move. Some trainees finished faster, their familiarity with specialized equipment giving them clear advantages. When it came time for initial shooting assessments, each trainee would fire at targets ranging from 100 to 800 meters. The SEALs approached their positions with confident swagger, joking with each other about their previous records. Many had nicknames earned through successful missions overseas, and their casual competence was intimidating. Sarah took her position at the firing line, adjusting her stance and checking her sight alignment. The range fell silent except for the distant sound of wind rustling through nearby trees. She controlled her breathing, focusing entirely on the distant target that seemed impossibly small through her scope. Her first shot rang out across the range, followed by a pause as spotters checked the target through binoculars. The result was recorded without comment, but she noticed a few raised eyebrows among the instructors. As the morning progressed, each trainee took turns demonstrating their skills while others observed and critiqued their techniques. During lunch break, Sarah sat alone at a picnic table, reviewing her training manual while eating a sandwich. She overheard several SEALs discussing her performance, their voices carrying a mixture of surprise and skepticism. Some admitted she showed promise, while others suggested beginner's luck explained her initial results. The afternoon brought more challenging exercises involving moving targets and simulated combat scenarios. Trainees had to engage multiple targets while navigating obstacles and dealing with artificial distractions designed to break concentration. The pressure intensified as instructors shouted commands and created chaotic environments similar to battlefield conditions. As the day concluded, Chief Rodriguez announced that tomorrow would bring the real test. Each trainee would face a comprehensive shooting challenge that had stumped even experienced snipers. The targets would be placed at extreme distances, and environmental factors would make accurate shooting nearly impossible. He warned that many previous classes had seen their top performers struggle with this particular exercise. Walking back to her quarters that evening, Sarah reflected on the day's events. She knew she had performed well, but tomorrow would determine whether she truly belonged among these elite warriors. The doubt in her fellow trainees' voices echoed in her mind, but it also fueled her determination to prove that skill and dedication mattered more than assumptions based on gender or appearance. That night, she cleaned her rifle with meticulous care, checking every component and practicing her breathing exercises. She visualized herself succeeding in tomorrow's challenge, hitting targets that others might miss. Her father had always told her that confidence came from preparation, and she intended to be ready for whatever test awaited her on the firing line. Dawn broke gray and windy across the training facility, with gusts strong enough to affect bullet trajectory at long distances. Sarah arrived early at the firing range, finding Chief Rodriguez already setting up equipment for the day's challenging exercise. He nodded acknowledgement but offered no hint about what lay ahead. As other trainees gathered, the atmosphere felt different from the previous day. The casual joking had diminished, replaced by focused determination. Everyone understood that today's performance would significantly impact their standing in the program. Several SEALs discussed wind patterns and atmospheric conditions, sharing technical knowledge gained through years of field experience. Chief Rodriguez called the group to attention and outlined the day's challenge. Targets had been placed at distances ranging from 600 to 1,200 meters, with some positioned behind partial cover to simulate real combat scenarios. Wind speeds were gusting up to 20 miles per hour, and trainees would have only 3 shots per target to demonstrate their skills. The first shooter, a decorated SEAL named Jake Morrison, approached the firing line with confidence. His reputation included successful missions in Afghanistan and Iraq, where his marksmanship had saved countless lives. He studied the distant targets through his scope, calculating wind drift and bullet drop with practiced expertise. Morrison's first shot missed the 800-meter target by several inches, the wind carrying his bullet left of center. He adjusted his aim and fired again, this time connecting with the outer edge of the target. His third shot struck closer to center, earning respectful nods from fellow trainees who understood the difficulty of shooting in such conditions. One by one, experienced snipers took their turns at the firing line. Each faced the same challenges with wind and distance, and most achieved mixed results. Some connected with closer targets but struggled with the extreme range shots. Others compensated well for wind but misjudged elevation adjustments needed for the longest distances. Tom Bradley, a SEAL with over 15 years of experience, managed to hit 4 out of 7 targets, which represented the best performance so far. His technique appeared flawless, and he demonstrated the kind of steady nerves that came from combat experience. Several trainees congratulated him, assuming his score would be difficult to match. As Sarah's turn approached, she noticed the wind had become even more unpredictable, shifting direction every few minutes. She had been carefully observing each previous shooter, noting how the wind affected their bullets and studying the patterns of grass movement near the targets. Her methodical analysis had not gone unnoticed by the instructors. When Chief Rodriguez called her name, conversations around the firing line quieted. Sarah walked to her position with calm determination. Despite feeling the weight of skeptical stares, she adjusted her rifle's bipod and settled into a comfortable shooting position, taking time to properly align her body and breathing rhythm. Through her scope, the first target appeared as a small dark circle against the hillside backdrop. She watched the wind indicators carefully, noting how flags and vegetation moved in the gusting breeze. Her father had taught her to read natural wind signs during hunting trips, skills that now proved invaluable in this military setting. Sarah's first shot surprised everyone by striking dead center on the 600-meter target. The range officer confirmed the hit through binoculars, and she heard murmurs of approval mixed with disbelief. She remained focused, already calculating adjustments needed for the next target at 800 meters. Her second shot connected solidly with the 800-meter target, prompting more animated discussions among the observers. Some SEALs began paying closer attention to her technique, noting her patience in timing shots between wind gusts. She seemed to possess an intuitive understanding of when conditions were optimal for accurate shooting. The third target stood at 1,000 meters, partially concealed behind a simulated wall. This shot required precise calculation of both wind drift and the exact aiming point to clear the obstacle. Sarah spent extra time studying the target, visualizing the bullet's path and accounting for all environmental factors. Her third shot rang out across the range, followed by an extended pause as spotters confirmed the hit. When they announced another center strike, the atmosphere around the firing line changed noticeably. Fellow trainees who had been dismissive now watched with genuine interest, recognizing that her success was no accident. As Sarah prepared for the remaining targets, she could feel the increased attention but refused to let it break her concentration. Years of hunting with her father had taught her that external pressure was just another environmental factor to be managed and overcome through proper mental discipline. The fourth target sat at 1,100 meters, barely visible as a dark speck against the distant tree line. At this range, even slight miscalculations could result in complete misses. Sarah studied the target through her scope, noting how heat shimmer from the warming ground created visual distortions that could mislead her aim. She had observed how previous shooters struggled with this particular target, most missing by significant margins. The combination of extreme distance, unpredictable wind, and atmospheric interference created a puzzle that challenged even the most experienced marksman. Sarah took her time, understanding that patience was more valuable than speed in this situation. Chief Rodriguez watched her preparation with growing interest. In his 25 years of training snipers, he had rarely seen such methodical attention to detail from someone so young and inexperienced. Her approach reminded him of master shooters he had known, veterans who could consistently hit targets that others considered impossible. Sarah controlled her breathing and waited for a brief lull in the wind. When the moment felt right, she squeezed the trigger with smooth, steady pressure. The rifle's recoil was absorbed by her properly positioned body, and she maintained sight picture to observe the bullet's impact through her scope. The spotters took longer than usual to confirm this shot, scanning the distant target carefully through high-powered optics. When they finally announced another direct hit, spontaneous applause broke out among several trainees. Even some of the SEALs who had initially doubted her abilities began nodding with approval. Jake Morrison, whose earlier performance had been considered respectable, shook his head in amazement. He had attempted the same shot and missed the target entirely, despite years of sniper training and combat experience. Watching Sarah succeed where he had failed forced him to reconsider his assumptions about natural shooting ability versus learned technique. The fifth target presented a different challenge, positioned at 900 meters but requiring shots through a narrow gap between two barriers. This exercise simulated urban combat scenarios where snipers must thread bullets through small openings, while accounting for wind and distance. Previous attempts had resulted in bullets striking the barriers rather than reaching the intended target. Sarah studied the gap carefully, calculating the precise angle needed to clear both obstacles. She had to account not only for bullet trajectory, but also for the slight curve that wind would impart to the projectile during its flight. The margin for error was extremely small, requiring near-perfect execution. Her fifth shot passed cleanly through the gap and struck the target with another satisfying impact. The achievement drew audible gasps from observers who understood the technical difficulty of what she had just accomplished. Some of the most experienced snipers in the group admitted they would have struggled to make that particular shot. Tom Bradley, whose earlier score had led the group, approached Sarah during a brief break between targets. His initial skepticism had transformed into genuine curiosity about her background and training methods. He asked about her experience and was surprised to learn that her formal, military training was limited to basic marksmanship courses. Sarah explained that her father had been an avid hunter who insisted on teaching her proper shooting fundamentals from an early age. They had spent countless hours practicing in various weather conditions, learning to read wind patterns and compensate for environmental factors. Her father emphasized that shooting was as much mental discipline as physical technique. The sixth target stood at the program's maximum range of 1,200 meters, positioned on a hilltop that required significant elevation adjustment. At this distance, gravity would pull the bullet several feet below the point of aim, requiring precise calculation of the proper holdover. Additionally, the bullet would be in flight long enough for wind to have maximum effect on its trajectory. Chief Rodriguez announced that hitting this target would represent exceptional marksmanship by any standard. In previous classes, fewer than 10% of trainees had successfully engaged targets at this extreme range. He reminded everyone that combat snipers often needed to make such shots when lives depended on their accuracy. Sarah took extra time preparing for this shot, understanding that it would likely determine whether her performance was viewed as remarkable or merely lucky. She calculated holdover requirements and wind compensation, double-checking her math before settling into her final shooting position. The range fell completely silent as she prepared to fire. Fellow trainees held their breath, knowing they were witnessing something special. Even the instructors leaned forward with anticipation, curious to see if this young woman could maintain her perfect record under maximum pressure. Her sixth shot echoed across the valley, and everyone watched as the bullet traced its long arc toward the distant hilltop. The flight time seemed eternal, giving observers moments to contemplate the physics involved in such extreme-range shooting. When the spotters confirmed another direct hit, the silence erupted into cheers and applause from the entire group. The seventh and final target represented the ultimate challenge of the exercise. Positioned at 1,000 meters, it was only half the size of the previous targets and partially obscured by natural vegetation. Chief Rodriguez explained that this shot simulated engaging a high-value target in combat, conditions where only a small portion might be visible to the sniper. Sarah felt the pressure of 37 pairs of eyes, watching her every movement. She had achieved something remarkable by hitting 6 consecutive targets that had challenged the best marksman in the program. Now she faced the possibility of completing a perfect score on one of the military's most difficult shooting challenges. The wind had picked up again, creating even more complex conditions for this final shot. Sarah spent several minutes observing how the gusts affected different areas along the bullet's projected path. She noticed that wind patterns varied at different distances, requiring her to calculate an average effect rather than compensating for conditions at any single point. Fellow trainees who had initially questioned her presence now watched with genuine respect and curiosity. Jake Morrison found himself analyzing her technique, trying to understand what made her approach so effective. He noticed that she seemed to have an instinctive sense of timing, firing only when all conditions aligned perfectly. Tom Bradley commented quietly to another SEAL that Sarah's performance reminded him of legendary snipers he had heard about, but never seen in person. Her ability to read environmental conditions and maintain perfect form under pressure suggested natural talent combined with exceptional mental discipline. Chief Rodriguez observed Sarah's preparation ritual with professional interest. He had trained hundreds of snipers throughout his career, and he recognized the signs of someone who possessed that rare combination of physical skill and mental toughness required for elite marksmanship. Her age and relative inexperience made her performance even more remarkable. Sarah settled into her shooting position for the final time, knowing that this shot would define how others viewed her capabilities. She had already exceeded everyone's expectations, but completing a perfect score would establish her as a truly exceptional marksman. The pressure was intense, but she drew upon lessons learned from her father about maintaining focus under stress. Through her scope, the final target appeared as a small dark shape, barely distinguishable from the surrounding foliage. She had to identify the precise aiming point that would ensure her bullet struck the visible portion, rather than being deflected by intervening vegetation. The margin for error was smaller than on any previous shot. She waited patiently for wind conditions to stabilize, knowing that rushing this final shot could waste all her previous success. Her breathing remained steady and controlled, with each exhale bringing her closer to the moment when all factors would align for the perfect shot. When the moment felt exactly right, Sarah squeezed the trigger with the same smooth technique she had used throughout the exercise. The rifle bucked against her shoulder, and she immediately began tracking the bullet's impact point through her scope. The flight time at 1,000 meters gave her several seconds to observe the trajectory. The spotters focused their binoculars on the distant target, searching carefully for signs of impact. The partial concealment made confirmation more difficult than with previous shots, requiring them to examine the target from multiple angles. The extended pause heightened tension among all observers. Finally, the range officer announced the result over his radio. Sarah had achieved another direct hit, completing a perfect 7-for-7 performance on targets that had challenged the most experienced snipers in the program. The firing line erupted in applause and cheers as fellow trainees recognized the historic nature of what they had just witnessed. Chief Rodriguez approached Sarah with a mixture of admiration and professional curiosity. In his quarter-century of training elite marksmen, he had never seen anyone achieve perfect scores on this particular exercise. Her performance would become part of training facility legend, referenced for years as an example of what exceptional marksmanship looked like. Jake Morrison was among the first to congratulate Sarah, openly admitting that his initial doubts had been completely unfounded. He apologized for underestimating her abilities and expressed genuine interest in learning from her techniques. His honesty helped break down barriers that had existed since her arrival at the facility. Tom Bradley shook Sarah's hand and told her that she had just demonstrated shooting skills that would be valuable in any combat situation. He suggested that her natural abilities, combined with proper advanced training, could make her one of the military's most effective snipers. As word of Sarah's perfect performance spread throughout the training facility, instructors from other programs came to meet the young woman who had accomplished something so remarkable. Her achievement challenged assumptions about gender, experience, and natural talent in ways that would influence military training policies for years to come. News of Sarah's unprecedented achievement spread rapidly throughout the military base and beyond. Within hours, senior officers who rarely visited training facilities were requesting detailed reports about the young woman who had outperformed seasoned Navy SEALs. Her perfect score on the challenging marksmanship exercise had captured attention at the highest levels of military command. Colonel Patricia Hayes, director of the Special Operations Training Command, arrived at the facility the following morning to meet Sarah personally. Colonel Hayes had built her career breaking through military glass ceilings and understood the significance of Sarah's accomplishment for women throughout the armed forces. She also recognized the strategic value of exceptional marksmanship skills in modern warfare. During their meeting, Colonel Hayes learned about Sarah's background and motivations for military service. Sarah spoke passionately about wanting to honor her family's tradition of service while contributing her own unique skills to protect her country. Her humility about the previous day's performance impressed the colonel, who had encountered many soldiers whose abilities were exceeded by their egos. Chief Rodriguez provided Colonel Hayes with detailed analysis of Sarah's shooting technique and mental approach. He emphasized that her success resulted from more than natural talent, noting her methodical preparation and ability to perform under extreme pressure. He recommended immediate advancement to the military's most elite sniper training programs. The colonel arranged for Sarah to demonstrate her skills for a select group of military officials and training experts. This informal shooting exhibition would help determine the best path for developing her exceptional abilities. Sarah felt nervous about performing for such high-ranking observers but understood the opportunity this represented for her career. The demonstration took place on a different range with even more challenging conditions. Targets were positioned at various distances and angles, simulating real-world scenarios that snipers might encounter during combat operations. Wind conditions remained difficult, and afternoon heat created additional atmospheric distortions that complicated accurate shooting. Sarah's performance during the demonstration equaled her previous day's excellence. She consistently hit targets that challenged observers who were themselves experienced marksmen. Her ability to adapt quickly to different shooting positions and target types demonstrated versatility that would be valuable in field operations. General Robert Chen, commander of Special Operations Forces, observed the demonstration remotely via video link. He had been briefed about Sarah's abilities but wanted to see her performance firsthand before making decisions about her training and assignment. Her demonstration convinced him that she possessed skills worth developing at the highest levels. Following the demonstration, Sarah met with a team of specialists who assessed her psychological fitness for sniper operations. These evaluations examined her mental resilience, decision-making under pressure, and emotional stability in high-stress situations. The results indicated that she possessed the psychological profile ideal for elite sniper work. Dr. Amanda Foster, the lead psychologist, explained that successful snipers required more than shooting accuracy. They needed patience to wait hours or days for the right shot, mental toughness to operate alone in hostile territory, and emotional control to make life-and-death decisions in split seconds. Sarah's assessments suggested she possessed all these qualities. Military intelligence officers also interviewed Sarah, exploring her background for any factors that might affect her security clearance eligibility. Her family's military service history and her own demonstrated character supported approval for access to classified operations. The thorough vetting process confirmed her suitability for sensitive assignments. Within a week of her perfect shooting performance, Sarah received orders assigning her to the military's most advanced sniper school. This program trained fewer than 50 students per year, selecting only candidates who demonstrated exceptional potential for elite operations. Her rapid advancement surprised even those who had witnessed her remarkable shooting skills. The news of her assignment spread throughout the training facility, inspiring other female trainees who had faced similar skepticism about their abilities. Sarah became a symbol that talent and determination could overcome prejudice and traditional barriers. Her success opened conversations about expanding opportunities for women in combat roles. Jake Morrison and Tom Bradley both sought Sarah out before her departure to offer encouragement and advice. Their initial skepticism had transformed into genuine respect and friendship. They provided insights about military culture and suggested strategies for succeeding in environments where she might face continued doubts about her capabilities. Chief Rodriguez presented Sarah with a commemorative coin marking her historic achievement. He told her that in his long career training snipers, he had never seen anyone demonstrate such natural ability, combined with mental discipline. He predicted that she would set new standards for excellence in sniper operations. As Sarah prepared to leave for advanced training, she reflected on how dramatically her situation had changed in just 1 week. She had proven herself capable of competing with the military's elite warriors, but she understood that greater challenges lay ahead. Her perfect performance on the firing line was just the beginning of a journey that would test all her abilities. The Advanced Sniper School occupied a remote facility in the mountains where students trained under conditions that replicated real combat environments. Sarah arrived to find herself among 49 other students, including several Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, and Marine Force reconnaissance operators. Once again, she was the only woman in the program, but this time her reputation had preceded her. Instructor Master Sergeant David Park had reviewed Sarah's file and watched videos of her shooting demonstrations. Despite her impressive credentials, he maintained the same high standards for all students regardless of their previous achievements. The 8-week program would test every aspect of sniper operations, from advanced marksmanship to survival skills and mission planning. The first week focused on precision shooting under increasingly difficult conditions. Students fired from awkward positions through small openings and at ranges extending beyond 1,500 meters. Sarah's natural abilities served her well, but she also learned advanced techniques for reading wind, calculating ballistics, and compensating for environmental factors she had never encountered. Her fellow students initially watched her performance with curiosity mixed with skepticism. Many had heard about her perfect score against the SEALs, but wondered whether she could maintain that level of excellence throughout the rigorous training program. Sarah understood their doubts and focused on proving herself through consistent performance rather than responding to their concerns. The second week introduced fieldcraft training, teaching students to move undetected through various terrain types. Sarah discovered that her smaller size provided advantages in concealment situations where larger operators struggled to remain hidden. She excelled at camouflage techniques and demonstrated natural instincts for selecting optimal shooting positions. Week 3 brought psychological pressure training designed to simulate the stress of combat operations. Students performed marksmanship exercises while instructors created distractions, time pressure, and artificial emergency situations. Sarah's mental discipline, developed through years of hunting with her father, helped her maintain focus when others became rattled by the chaotic training environment. Advanced ballistics calculations occupied much of the 4th week, requiring students to master complex mathematical formulas for extreme-range shooting. Sarah's methodical approach to problem-solving proved valuable, as she learned to account for factors like Coriolis effect, air density variations, and projectile spin drift that affected bullets during very long flights. The 5th week challenged students with night operations training, using thermal optics and night vision equipment. They learned to engage targets in complete darkness while accounting for temperature differences that affected bullet trajectory. Sarah adapted quickly to the specialized equipment, maintaining her shooting accuracy even under these demanding conditions. Urban warfare scenarios dominated the 6th week, with students practicing precision shooting in simulated city environments. They learned to engage targets while minimizing risk to civilian populations, a skill increasingly important in modern military operations. Sarah's natural patience served her well in scenarios requiring extended observation periods before taking carefully planned shots. During the 7th week, students participated in comprehensive field exercises that combined all their acquired skills. Working in small teams, they conducted simulated missions requiring infiltration, target identification, precision engagement, and extraction under realistic time pressures. Sarah's performance throughout these exercises confirmed her potential for actual combat operations. Master Sergeant Park observed Sarah's steady improvement and consistent excellence throughout the program. Her initial natural shooting ability had been enhanced by professional training, creating skills that exceeded those of many veteran snipers. He recommended her for immediate assignment to an active special operations unit upon graduation. The Final week culminated in individual testing that would determine each student's final ranking and future assignments. Sarah faced the ultimate challenge of demonstrating all her skills under maximum pressure while being evaluated by senior military officials who would decide her career trajectory. Her final shooting test required engaging multiple targets at various ranges while moving between positions under time constraints. The scenario simulated a real mission where a sniper might need to neutralize several threats while avoiding detection. Sarah's performance was flawless, hitting every target within the allocated time limits. Graduation day arrived with families and military officials gathering to recognize the new class of elite snipers. Sarah's parents attended the ceremony, proud to see their daughter achieve something that had seemed impossible just months earlier. Her father, understanding the significance of her accomplishment better than most civilians, struggled to contain his emotions during the formal presentations. When Master Sergeant Park announced the class rankings, Sarah had finished first among all 49 students. Her overall score exceeded that of operators with years more experience and training. The achievement established her as one of the military's most promising snipers and guaranteed assignment to elite special operations units. General Chen personally congratulated Sarah during the graduation ceremony, informing her that she had been selected for immediate deployment with a classified special operations task force. Her unique combination of exceptional marksmanship and proven performance under pressure made her valuable for sensitive missions, requiring precision engagement capabilities. Sarah prepared for her first operational deployment. She reflected on the journey that had brought her from facing skeptical laughter on a training range to earning recognition as an elite military sniper. Her success had opened doors for other women while proving that excellence knew no gender boundaries in military service. 2 years after that transformative day on the firing line, Staff Sergeant Sarah Martinez returned to the same training facility where her journey had begun. This time she came not as a student but as an instructor, bringing with her the experience of successful combat, deployments and commendations for exceptional service in classified operations. Her reputation had grown throughout the military community during those 2 years. Sarah had participated in 17 successful missions, including several high-profile operations that eliminated key terrorist targets. Her precision shooting had saved countless lives and contributed to strategic victories that made international headlines, though her role remained classified. The same firing range where she had once faced skeptical laughter now displayed a memorial plaque honoring her historic perfect score. New students learned about her achievement as part of their introduction to the facility's training standards. Her story had become legend, inspiring young marksmen to push beyond perceived limitations. Chief Rodriguez, now promoted to Master Chief, greeted Sarah warmly when she reported for instructor duty. He had followed her career with pride, knowing that his early recognition of her potential had contributed to her success. He looked forward to working with someone who understood both exceptional performance and the challenges of proving oneself in skeptical environments. Sarah's first class included 32 students, among them 8 women whose presence reflected changing military policies, influenced partly by her groundbreaking achievements. These female trainees faced fewer barriers than Sarah had encountered, though they still needed to prove their capabilities through performance rather than assumptions. During her opening address to the new class, Sarah spoke about the importance of preparation, mental discipline, and perseverance in developing marksmanship skills. She emphasized that natural talent meant nothing without dedication to continuous improvement. Her words carried special weight because students knew she had proven these principles under the most demanding conditions. Jake Morrison, now a chief petty officer, brought his own students to observe Sarah's instruction methods. He had become one of her strongest advocates, frequently sharing the story of how she had changed his perspective about assumptions and prejudice in military training. His transformation from skeptic to supporter illustrated the broader impact of her achievements. Sarah's teaching approach combined technical expertise with insights gained from actual combat experience. She helped students understand not just how to hit targets, but how to perform under life-and-death pressure. When mission success depended on their accuracy, her lessons went beyond marksmanship to include mental preparation and stress management. The same challenging shooting exercise that had launched Sarah's career remained a centerpiece of advanced training. Students attempted the 7-target course that had stumped experienced SEALs before Sarah's perfect performance. While few achieved her remarkable success, all benefited from techniques she had developed and refined through combat experience. During evening instruction sessions, Sarah shared stories from her deployments that illustrated the real-world applications of training facility lessons. She described missions where environmental factors, equipment limitations, and enemy actions had tested every skill learned during formal instruction. These accounts provided context that motivated students to excel in their preparation. General Chen visited the facility to observe Sarah's instruction and meet with her about future career opportunities. Her success had opened possibilities for advancement to senior leadership positions within Special Operations Commands. He suggested that her unique combination of operational excellence and teaching ability could influence military training for decades. Sarah had also become a sought-after speaker at military conferences and professional development events. Her presentations about overcoming barriers and achieving excellence under pressure resonated with audiences throughout the armed forces. She used these opportunities to advocate for expanded opportunities for women in combat roles. 3 years after her historic shooting performance, Sarah received promotion to Sergeant First Class and assignment as the lead marksmanship instructor for the entire training command. This position gave her influence over curriculum development and training standards that would affect thousands of future snipers. Her office wall displayed photographs from successful missions, commendations for exceptional service, and letters from students whose careers had been influenced by her instruction. Among these mementos, she kept a simple target score sheet from that first day on the firing line, reminding her of how dramatically circumstances could change through preparation and determination. Sarah often reflected on the journey that began with skeptical laughter and evolved into recognition as one of the military's most capable snipers and instructors. Her story had become proof that excellence could emerge from unexpected sources when talent met opportunity and determination. She understood that her success had opened doors for others while establishing new standards for what was possible in military service. Looking toward the future, Sarah planned to continue developing training methods that would identify and develop exceptional marksmen, regardless of their background or gender. Her legacy would be measured not just by her own achievements, but by the success of students she had inspired to exceed their own perceived limitations. The young woman who had once faced doubt on the firing line had become a leader whose influence would shape military training for generations to come.